The story of my life is a complicated one. I have traveled the world, yet still I always return home to the hills of West Virginia. My heart and soul are buried in this soil. I may not have physically been born here, but a part of me has been here. My family has believed in the telling of the story of the land and of the people. While the family gift of writing the story may be somewhat unique, our penchant for saving stuff is not. Families across Appalachia have building pieces of important family items. Although my family stuff collection is not unique, it is a responsibility that I take seriously. My great aunt, Reba Bennett, passed away a number of years ago. She was preceded in death by her husband, my Uncle Benny, and they had no children. There were a limited number of nieces and nephews to whom her collection of life's stuff could be passed. Yes, she had done all the right things late in life by passing on mementos and disposing of the unnecessary physical things. It's ironic to think that a woman who lived to be 92 could have her life reduced to 12 boxes. Yet it is those 12 boxes that pose the question, will the legacy of my ancestors be a burden to my descendants? I have spent many hours sorting through the legacy of my great Aunt Reba. She was a favorite of mine, and we spent many hours together when I was a small girl. One of my early memories is of her home in Akron, Ohio. There was a giant greenway where the family often gathered. Sitting in a corner was a collection of family items, a yarn winder, wool card, and a framed photograph. There was also a giant spinning wheel. To this day, I can clearly picture that room and the placement of those items. Perhaps it is poetic. Those rare items have been a very major driving force in my life, and because of their influence upon me, I was challenged to make a connection between my children and grandchildren with the stuff of a woman they have never met. The first box I opened contained a love letter from my uncle to my aunt during World War II. He wasn't much of a romantic, but he was handsome. In that box, there were literally hundreds of photographs of Aunt Reba. There was also baggies of valentines. There were more than 150 valentines in all. Most are of the school child variety. Will you be mine? With a name scrawled in pencil on the back. Some have a last name, but most carry no connection to the present. However, there are a few embossed valentines from my great-great-grandmother Squires to my aunt and my grandmother. The second box I opened was a treasure, and it is also a challenge. It contains the story of my great-grandfather, Nick P. Weinmiller. His story is told through his stuff. Now, Grandpa Nick died 2 years before I was born, but thanks to my aunt, I have many photos of him and his family. I also have photos, letters, and postcards of his courtship with my namesake, my great-grandmother, Denna Weinmiller. I must digress, just for a moment. In 1998, Darrell Stoniker married my mother. Darrell was a wonderful man. He was 24 years older than my mother, but we were all very blessed to have him as a part of our life until at the age of 91, he passed away. Prior to his death, I was with my daughter. There, baby would be a boy, and she should call him Nicholas, after her grandfather and my grandpa, Nick Wine. Daryl shared some wonderful stories of my great-grandfather, whom he knew as a child and a young man. My grandson Nicky is now 4 years old. He will never remember the man who named him, or hear the story of his name. From someone who knew him. Someday, though, I hope when my time has come, and Nicky has the opportunity to move the great wheel that has been sitting in my living room, and then the boxes, I hope that he will take the time to stop and look and wonder who these people were, and question how their lives influence him. I will spend my lifetime telling my children and grandchildren the stories of their ancestors and share with them the photos, the letters, the school books, and the valentines. While I can never hope to create a first-person connection to the treasures that have been entrusted to me, I can strive to provide a connection to their importance to me, and hopefully to provide a more permanent emotional tie. I sometimes wonder if my grandson Nicky will someday sit and open a box and tell the story of the items it contains to his grandchildren. I imagine the conversation would be something like this. Reva, he would say to his granddaughter, let me tell you about a woman that your Nene, yes, the kids call me Nene, knew and loved. It's a long story, but we have some really old things to make the story fun. See this book? It's dated 1882. Be careful. It's very, very old. This book belonged to your 5th great-grandfather, Nick P. Winemiller. Yes, Reva? Yes, that is my name too. Would you like to see a photograph of your other Grandpa Nick? Now, I know that there will be many times over the years when I will struggle with the physical stuff of my ancestors, and for various reasons, I may need to part with bits and pieces. But I hope that through the telling of the story to my children and grandchildren, I will build a love and a connection for the people, the places, and the things of long ago. That someday my little Nicky will think to himself, I'm glad Nene was crazy enough to keep all this stuff. It's really cool. Thank you for taking the time to look and listen. I would encourage you to take the time to remember the stories of your family stuff and to share it with your family and friends. Thank you.